Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Brittany here, aka Empowered Para, and on today's video, I'm going to tell you a little story about how 13-year-old me found out after I was paralyzed how I would have to go to the bathroom for the rest of my life. Before I was paralyzed at the age of 13, I thought being paralyzed meant you couldn't move your legs. That's it, nothing more. I blame my naivety on the nice man in a wheelchair that came to talk to my school about a month before I was in the snowmobile accident that caused my spinal cord injury. You see, he was a motivational speaker, and the things that he talked about were the struggles that people in wheelchairs had to face. Things like not being able to participate in certain aspects of society and missing out on adventures with family and friends, having a hard time dressing and getting around in the winter. I remember being slightly embarrassed for the guy, slightly bored, and only mildly affected. He was a good speaker and all, but the things he said just didn't have the shock and awe necessary to jerk me out of my teenage self-obsessed delirium. Fast forward a few months, and I'm lying in a rehab hospital with a spinal cord injury of my own. Isn't that ironic? When I woke up in the hospital and finally weaned off the pain medication that I was on long enough to realize that I was in fact paralyzed and not just in some hallucinogenic dream, I learned a few things about being paralyzed that I didn't know before. For starters, there's definitely more to being paralyzed than just not being able to move your legs. I suppose if I thought about it long enough, it should have dawned on me that being paralyzed meant everything from the waist down or wherever you're paralyzed from is affected, meaning the lovely anatomy so closely nestled between your beautiful, and in my case, not so beautiful butt cheeks, and in between your legs. That's right, people. I'm talking about the good old private parts that take care of the bodily functions that pre-paralysis took barely any thought or concentration to control. When taking a poop or a pee was simple, yeah, those things are affected too, and no longer within your control. Hello, paralysis. Nice to finally meet the real you. Of course, it took me a while to finally realize the scope of the situation, given the fact that I could no longer feel either orifice and I had other people, doctors, nurses, managing my defecation. When I did finally clue in, my first question was, so do I have to wear a diaper for the rest of my life? When the answer was no, I thought that was good news. I was wrong. Very, very wrong. You see, it was at that moment that I learned the fancy term digital stimulation. A very clever person came up with that term. Whoever it is deserves a pat on the back for the sheer brilliance of it, really. When I heard that I was going to learn about digital stimulation and how to use it, I was pretty excited. I'm thinking, I'm getting the DL on some very cool technology. In my world, digital meant electronic devices. How can you blame me, really? Digital clocks, digital thermometers, digital cameras, all fabulous pieces of technology that make life so much easier and more exciting. What I was about to learn was not going to make my life easier and definitely not more exciting. I got an education in vocabulary that day. I learned that fingers can also be referred to as digits, and digital stimulation, brace yourself people, is the act of using said digit to stimulate an anal sphincter to relax. Yeah, I'm dead serious. As a 13-year-old, I almost fainted, for real. And then when they told me why I was learning about it, shit hit the fan. Remember the part of the story where I talked about how paralysis takes away voluntary control of your butthole? Well, when that occurs, one of two things happens. If your paralysis level is really low, then you have a butthole with very little tone or tightness. But if you're paralyzed high like me, then your butthole likes to stay closed as tightly as possible, which is good, I guess, unless of course you want to poop and you can no longer control that sucker with your brain. Dun 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 dun! Digital stimulation to the rescue. Apparently, digital stimulation is the answer to living a long and healthy life with a tight, paralyzed butthole. You simply insert a glove digit into that monster, give it a little spin round and round, and suddenly it opens like magic. And hopefully you get your hand out of the way before the poop starts coming. Functional? Yes. Pretty? No. Learning the definition of digital stimulation and coming to terms with the fact that I would actually have to do it are two very different things. especially at 13. I had barely gotten over getting my period. Now I was supposed to stick my own finger up my own butthole where there's poop? I don't think so. Enter denial, temper tantrums, tears, a full-on 13-year-old power struggle. Me versus my mom, the doctors, the nurses, except in the end, nobody wins because somebody is going to have to stick a finger up my butthole in order for me to poop. The diaper was looking like a seriously viable option at this point. I'd changed diapers before. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad changing my own. And then I remembered boys, dating. I might want to do some of that. And the diaper, at least at that time, didn't fit into that picture. And so I came to terms with the fact that a finger had to go up my butthole. Not my finger, though, my mom's finger. Every second morning for the next 5 years until it was time for me to move out of the house. And I decided, or rather my mom decided for me, that it was time to grow the F up, which I did. But that's a story for another day. If you're able-bodied and you've listened this far, you're welcome. If you ever wake up and find yourself paralyzed, I saved you from the initial shock of learning what's in store for you. I can't save you from having to actually stick your finger up your butt, but at least you know. If you are paralyzed and have listened this far, please tell me how you took it when you learned about digital stimulation for the first time. I'd love to hear all of your shit stories. I hope you guys found my story funny. If you did, please hit that like button and consider subscribing. If you want to shock some of your friends, please share. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.